Welcome to AP Biology. Today's video is going to be about the structure of DNA. So DNA forms a double helix, as you can see in this picture right here. And it has alternating sugars and phosphate groups that run along the outside runners. And then the rungs of the ladder are made up of nitrogen bases. And those nitrogen bases are either thymine, cytosine, which are pyrimidines, and adenine and guanine, which are the purines. The purines are a little bit bigger. The pyrimidines are a little bit smaller. I always remember which are which by two things. So I had a couple hometowns growing up. I considered Traverse City my hometown when I was in high school, and then Hope College was my hometown. So Holland was my hometown for 5 years when I was in college. And so I think of my hometowns, and I grew up in the small town of Traverse City. It was a pretty small town back then, 50 years or 30 to 40 years ago. And so I think of the small town of Traverse City, so that's where the TC comes from. And then in Holland, we have our own pyramid, and so I always think of pyrimidines. So my hometowns give me the answers. Pyrimidines are the T and C. They are combined. T always binds with A, and G always binds with C in our DNA format. And there's a reason for that. Thymine and adenine will form two hydrogen bonds, and guanine and cytosine form 3 hydrogen bonds. And it all has to do with their molecular structure. If we look at the molecular structure of, for example, cytosine and guanine, which is in the middle of the page here, you see a hydrogen lines up with an oxygen. Well, hydrogens are always going to be slightly positive when they're connected to other molecules, like connected to this nitrogen. And the other molecule, or the other atoms in molecules, tend to be slightly negative because they're attached to hydrogens and they're hogging those electrons. And so this oxygen is slightly negative and this hydrogen is slightly positive, so there's an attraction there. Same here, slightly negative nitrogen, slightly positive hydrogen, slightly negative oxygen, slightly positive hydrogen. So these are all like partial attractions to each other. If you try to throw the other purine in here, you're going to end up with, in the same position here, instead of an O, you're going to end up with an H. So then you have a plus and a plus. So those are repulsive. Here you're going to end up, instead of having a H, you're going to have an N. So you got an N here and an N here. So then those would be repulsive as well. And so because when you put the wrong purine in, you get repulsive forces. And when you have the right purine in, you get attractive forces. The A's and T's only want to bond with each other, and the G's and C's only want to bond with each other.